would like to call for Darija ALUJEVIĆ. So Darija ALUJEVIĆ is our next speaker. She will present a talk entitled Women's Art Club, 1927-1940 in Zagreb, and its impact on the recognition of and professionalization of female artists. Darija ALUJEVIĆ is an art historian, expert advisor, and at the Fine Art Archives of the Croatian Academy of Sciences and Arts in Zagreb. She received her PhD degree in art history in 2020 from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences at University of Zagreb. Her specialty is the Croatian and European art of the first half of the 20th century. So just to mention that the exhibition of Women's Art Club was held last year in Klovićevi Dvori Gallery, big show, and Darija ALUJEVIĆ was one of the curators of that show. Please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. In other parts of Europe, a phenomenon of the female art clubs existed earlier than 1927. For example, Women's International Art Club was founded in 1898 by a group of women artists from Britain and North America who were working and studying art in Paris. The aim of the Paris Club was to forward the cause of international women artists and unite for mutual help in exhibiting. They organized annual exhibitions in London and in other places. As you will see, this club played an indirect role in the founding of Zagreb's club. The Austrian Association of Women Artists was founded in Vienna in 1910 and also had annual exhibition. What needs to be emphasized is that at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of 20th century, the status of women was extremely unequal compared to men. It was commonly believed that the woman's place was in the house and education was aimed at making her an exemplary wife, mother, and housewife, which is what women's vocational schools mainly served, to prepare them for practical life as capable housewives skilled in manual work, sewing, embroidery. In the predominantly patriarchal society, the public sphere was reserved for men. Economically dependent, and in Yugoslavia, women did not have the right to vote until 1945. Art education was typically a part of the upbringing for girls from higher social classes and was seen as a leisure activity, often provided through private lessons. From this perspective, art critics judged the artwork of women artists, despite of the fact that they all attended art schools. In spite of all the obstacles, women artists organized themselves in a club, which opened them new perspectives at the art market. The main role in founding of Zagreb Women's Art Club had the painter Nasta Rojc. Here you can see her in a self-portrait from that period. In the summer of 1919, Nasta Rojc met a Scottish woman, Alexandrina Onslow, in Dubrovnik, and she became her partner, and they spent the rest of their lives together. Although Rojc was officially married to a painter, Branko Šeno, but it was a marriage de rigueur. During the First World War, Onslow was the member of the British Army and the transport team of the Scottish Women's Hospital. As a decorated officer, Alexandrina Onslow saw the end of the war on the Salonika front. Onslow was Rojc's connection to Great Britain. At the end of 1924, they traveled to Great Britain for a year, partly to change the climate, intent to improve the artist's health. Their stay included socializing with suffragettes and members of the aristocracy, both because of Onslow's connections and Nasta's occupations, an exotic country she came from. Here you can see portrait of Alexandrina Onslow made by Nasta Rojc, and this painting of a car, Scottish car, is considered the first portrait of the car in the Croatian art history painting. And here you can see also the the card Nasta Rojc sent to her gallerist in Zagreb from Scotland. During her stay in Great Britain, Nasta Rojc established contacts that led to her solo exhibition in June 1926 at the Gibbs Art Gallery in London. This exhibition caught the attention of the Women's International Art Club, which invited her to participate in their exhibition the following year, 1927. The artist demonstrated her patriotic spirit by negotiating with the club to include her colleagues from her homeland to exhibit alongside her. Here you can see the poster of the exhibition, which was made by Nasta Rojc herself, and the photo of Nasta Rojc and Maja Stroci-Pečić, the singer who sang at the opening of Nasta Rojc's exhibition in London. So that invitation was the immediate impetus for the foundation of Zagreb's Women Arts Club, initially to facilitate this participation of other women artists at this exhibition. 3 more women artists, except Nasta Rojc, exhibited at Women's International Club exhibition in London, and they all became founding members of the Zagreb Club. Zdenka Ostović-Peksider-Srića, Lina Crnčić-Virant, and Lucy Kučera-Buchmeister. Together with the painter Lina Crnčić-Virant, Nasta Rojc started to invite other women artists to join the future Women Artists Club. The idea was to invite women artists from all the parts of Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenians. Lina Crnčić became a president of the club. Compared to Nasta Rojc, who did not lead a very conventional life, she embodied an acceptable type of woman in the public space. She was the wife of a famous Croatian painter and professor at Zagreb Fine Arts Academy, Menci Klement Crnčić. So she was representing the club at official events and maintained conciliatory tone with their critics. Nasta Rojc became a secretary. There were several more founding members. You can see the names listed here. The rules were drafted on 3rd January 1927, and the club was officially registered on 11 November 1927 by the Ministry of the Interior Affairs in Belgrade. Zagreb Women's Art Club was founded as the first association of female artists in this region. The purpose of the club, as stated in the rules, was to promote all fine arts and crafts, to support and produce local and international exhibitions, art lectures, to support communication with International Art Association, and their intention was to establish similar clubs in Belgrade, Ljubljana, Dubrovnik, and Sarajevo. However, ultimately, the purpose was to unite women artists on a professional rather than ideological level into a sort of societal organization that would facilitate exhibition opportunities and market access. Here you can see the rules and the membership cards, which changed because in 1940 the club became Croatian Women Artists Club. The main activity was the organization of the exhibitions. Over nearly 30 years of activity, the club gathered over 50 members, and they organized 11 club and several guest exhibitions. They collaborated with other women's associations, such as the National Women's Alliance and the Association of University Women, and they held lectures on art. The first exhibition gathered 16 artists, among which 2 from Slovenia, sisters Augusta and Henrika Šantel, and 1 sculptress, Iva Simonović-Despić, from Bosnia, Sarajevo. The rest were Croatian women artists. All the exhibitions were the sales exhibitions. Already the first exhibition attracted attention of the art critics and wider audience, so consequently it put the women artists in focus. Earlier with their solo exhibition, this happened very rarely. The reactions were twofold. On one hand, affirmative, on other, extremely negative and misogynistic. But anyhow, they created their own space, own place of freedom by jointly entering the art market and achieving greater visibility of their work. Here you can see the poster of the first exhibition and the cover of the catalog of the first exhibition. Olga Hecker, graphic art, made the poster for the first exhibition. This quotation here illustrates the negative attitude of critics, among which stands out two famous Croatian painters, Ljubo Babić and Jerolim Miše. Miše commented the first exhibition of the club that only a few works in this exhibition deserve a proper artistic critic. Everything else is the superficial exhibition by amateurs who have never seriously struggled with painting. 90% of the works are merely a continuation of pedagogical lessons received in convent schools and under Robert Tauer. So already at the first exhibition, we got this phenomenon of artists, critics, painters who criticized the work of their female colleagues. Aside from the general criticism and evaluation of the exhibition, Miše also evaluated some of the individual artistic performances. He did not mince his words while describing the artworks. Nasta Rojec. Her drawing is schematic and superficial, with tone never participating in plasticity. About her sculpture, The Wind, is just a pretentious, seemingly intended as a parody of Meštrović or his epigons. As for the artistic qualities of these works, this is hardly anything to say. Sonja Tajčević-Kovačić, who was a Paris student, pupil of André Lot, he said that the nudes of Tajčević are just tedious mannerism, a student of Lot who mechanically copies her teacher. That's what Jerolim Miše, the painter, thinks about his colleagues. Second exhibition of the club was also held in Zagreb, in the art pavilion, and there were 20 women artists. For this second exhibition, Women's Art Club got the support of Eleonora Šverljuga, who was the court lady of the Queen Mary Karađorđević. This support was very important because they could get the very representative place for exhibition. And of course, they got the media attention because of the presence of the royal family. Next exhibition in 1931 was held in Ljubljana, and it was also supported by the court lady, this time Franja Tavčar. At that moment, as you can see, the club had 30 members. Among the members, as an honorable member, was at that time late Ivana Kobilca. On the photo is Franja Tavčar and the members of the club, and the cover of the catalog of this Ljubljana exhibition, which was the third exhibition of the club. Over the years, exhibitions of Women's Art Club drew the attention of the public, and they became more present on the art market. But still, art critics' negative comments were very mean. Ivo Šrepel in 1933 compared our Schmidt's paintings to the cushion decorations. Infrequent critics of the Women's Art Club exhibitions, the terms amateurism and dilettantism were often used to describe the works of its members, which was largely untrue. Most of the club's members had formal artistic education, in spite of the fact that the fine arts academies in cities like Vienna and Munich allowed women to enroll only after the First World War. The most of the club's members were trained in Zagreb, at Temporary Higher School of Arts and Crafts, today the Academy of Fine Arts, which was founded in 1907, where they studied painting and sculpture. Because of the name Temporary, this wasn't considered like a real academy, so the female artists could attend courses equally with their male colleagues. So it was more like arts and crafts school. The members of the older generation, educated before the founding of the Zagreb school, were mainly educated in Vienna and Munich at the Kunstgewerbeschule, in Vienna, or the Kunstschule für Frauen und Mädchen in Vienna, and the Damenakademie in Munich. A smaller number of members attended private painting lessons due to the social conventions of the upper class. Pseudo-philosophical views, particularly those of Austrian philosopher Otto Weininger, had a significant influence on attitudes toward women, especially in famous Croatian painter's critic Ljubo Babić. He posited that women were intellectually inferior beings capable of reproduction but not creation. Women were also steered towards applied arts that were considered suitable for them, such as ceramics and textiles. In Zagreb, women first gained the opportunity for education in 1884 at the Royal Lands Craft School with the opening of the ceramics school course. And in the 1904, at the same school, it was opened the Department for Art and Craft Drawing, like an experimentally course. After Ljubljana, there were 8 more exhibitions, in total 11, most of them held in Zagreb, 1 in Dubrovnik and Sušak, and 2 in Osijek. The last one was held in Osijek in 1940, and after that exhibition, the activity has slowly ceased. From 1940, the club changed its name to Croatian Women's Art Club, but somehow the activities were minimal, and in 1947, club was officially dissolved. Here you can see the list of all the members over the years. There were around 50 members, but some were just honorable members, some never exhibited with the club, and the most of the artists were Croatian, Slovenian, and Serbian artists didn't want to join because they planned to organize their own association. They joined few times as guests at the exhibitions. There were 2 members from Bosnia, Adela Bervukic and earlier mentioned Iva Simonović Despić. Part of the club's activities and goals were international collaborations. One of the most significant international collaboration was the exhibition of one of the most renewed at that time contemporary graphic artist Kate Kolvic at the Art Pavilion in Zagreb in 1936. The most important role in the organization was played by painter and art historian Roksanda Cuvaj-Zurunić, who contacted the artist directly, after which the organization was taken over by Alexander von der Becke, the Berlin publisher of Kate Kolvic. The exhibition featured lithographs and etchings from almost all series, socially engaged works from the Peasants' War series, the later Expressionist War series, as well as works on the theme of motherhood. The exhibition was very successful. It was a sales exhibition, and some of the works can now be traced in some Zagreb collections. The Women's Art Club collaborated also with the National Women's Alliance, of which it was a member, as a club they were a member, since its founding in 1927. Through this collaboration with the National Women's Alliance, the club participated in organizing the traveling exhibition of the Little Entente of Women in 1838, a joint exhibition of Czechoslovakian, Romanian, and Yugoslav women artists. 9 exhibitions were held, 3 in each country. In the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, the Kingdom of Romania, and the Republic of Czechoslovakia. The specificity of this exhibition was that it included all branches of artistic creation, from painting and sculpture to architecture. So they had a chance to see the female architects too. Members of the club exhibited at that exhibition. The entire project was realized under the auspice of the highest representative of all participating countries, Queen Mary again of Yugoslavia, Queen Mary of Romania, and the wife of Czechoslovak President Hana Benešova. The exhibitions were of a sales nature, and the Zagreb exhibition at the Zagreb exhibition, the paintings by Czech painter Vilma Vrbovi, you can see here, and from Yugoslav section, works by Milica Bešević and Cata Dušin were purchased for the modern gallery. So this exhibition was also the opportunity for the members of the club to enter the museum collection, which was also one of the goals of all the artists, not just women artists. One of the goals of the club and its artists, except reaching the art market, was to enter the museum collections. So one of the examples is this project of the portraits of distinguished Croatian women artists and writers, which became the part of the collection of the Zagreb City Museum through donations by the Women's Art Club, which created them on special occasions and at their own expense. The first portrait is the writer Jagoda Truhelka, made by Nasta Rojc. Then it follows Marija Jurić Zagorka, editor of Ženski List, by Mira Majer Marokino in 1931 to commemorate the anniversary of her work. The club participated in the celebration committee, and appropriate portrait was created at the time, and it was intended already at that time to be a gift to the museum. The club members also participated in the celebration of the anniversary of birth of the writer and educator Antonija Kasović-Cvijić, and in 1935, Lina Crnčić-Viran, the president of the club, created her portrait in pastel. And in 1930, the same artist also made the portrait of the famous opera singer Zinka Kunc-Milanov after her celebration in America, so it can be assumed that it was created in 1937 when the singer first performed at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. So already in 1935, some of the portraits were already donated to Zagreb City Museum. But although the topic of continuing the production of the portrait was brought up again at one of the club's meetings, the practice was not continued. So a total of 4 portraits of notable distinguished women were donated to the museum. So we had both female artists, painters, and famous cultural workers that entered and were commemorated in a city museum. What is interesting that the documentary legacy of the Women's Art Club has been almost entirely preserved and consists of meticulously kept minute books, documentation related to the organization of exhibitions, exhibition catalogs, several posters, photographs and correspondence, and the material is stored in the Fine Arts Archive of the Croatian Academy of Sciences and Arts in Zagreb as the Women's Art Club collection. According to the club's rules, they even thought about this in the event of dissolution, they wanted the material to be transferred to Strossmayer Gallery of Old Masters of the Yugoslav Academy of Sciences and Arts, today Croatian Academy, so it can be assumed that this is how they were deposited in the Fine Arts Archives. The misogynistic critics from male artists trivialized the value of the club, primarily denying its professionalism. This attitude, which persisted over time, resulted in the marginalization of the Women's Art Club in Croatian art history. Despite earlier research and exhibition in 1997 that sought to valorize its significance and provide it with an adequate place in history and art history. So even with all these materials, they entered in the art history books just with a few sentences. So last year, as Miha told us, my colleague Dunja Nekić from Museum of Arts and Crafts and I made the exhibition, and it was our contribution to the valorization of the club. And we wanted to draw attention to its members and to encourage further monographic research of the club members, which are also left completely, most of them, unknown, except the very famous Nasta Rojc, Cata Dušin, Ribar, and so on. The greater number of the artists, most people, even colleagues, never heard of them. So it was a huge research, and it wasn't easy to trace the artworks of the club members because as I said, most of the members are almost forgotten. So we collaborated with museums and galleries from the whole Croatia, and with some Slovenians, such as Mesni Muzej and the colleague Barbara Savenc, who helped us to get in contact with the private owners. So now I would like to show you some photos of the exhibition display in Klovićevi Dvori Gallery. Although the exhibition was the project of the Museum of Arts and Crafts, due to the renovation of their building, we had the exhibition at the Klovićevi Dvori Gallery. We were at the first floor, 12 rooms, dedicated to the history of the club, 2 rooms, and in the others we showed the genres that were suitable for female artists, like still life and motherhood. And in the other part, we showed the portraits and self-portraits, so even nudes that were forbidden for this generation. They could only attend private lessons of the nude, not officially at the art schools. So here are the rooms. Here we had the timeline with the exhibitions. This is the motherhood room, and motives, genre motives from the village, and some sculptures. There were very few sculptures, only 3 of them, but we tried to show all of them. And this large room with the portraits. Here you can see this famous, we had the whole room dedicated to this famous cultural workers, Croatian writers and artists. And the last room with self-portraits. You can see Elda Piščanec and some others. Thank you very much for your attention.